Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You are listening to the TrekRanks Podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 21, featuring the top 5 doppelgangers, duplicates, and doubles. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse, and I am the host of the TrekRanks Podcast. Or am I? I could be my evil twin, or an alternate reality version of myself, or even a version of myself from some kind of displaced reality. Who knows? No, I'm pretty sure I'm myself, actually. Why? Because I'm super excited about tonight's awesome topic, our top 5 doppelgangers, duplicates, and doubles. And one of the reasons we're doing this topic tonight is because of the awesomeness of Star Trek Discovery Season 1 and what they've added to Trek lore in terms of some doppelgangers and mirror doubles and duplicates. So joining me tonight on this awesome TrekRanks topic is 2 semi-regulars here on the show. First up, making her 3rd TrekRanks appearance is one of my best Trekkie friends, Claire Little. Claire, how can we be sure this is really you?
Ooh, I guess you're just going to have to trust me? But that never turns out
that's
Star Trek.
That's what they always say. That's going to be trouble. All right. We're pretty sure it's you. We were talking beforehand. All right. Our other host tonight is making his 2nd TrekRanks appearance. He's Ken Reilly from the premier Star Trek fan site and resource website, trekcore.com. Ken, good to have you back, buddy. You there?
Hey, Jim. Glad to be back on the show.
All right. We are ready. This topic is going to be great. I think, all right, let's not waste any time with chit-chat. I'm going to jump right into our TrekRanks reset because this topic is going to be so mammoth. So first up, as regular listeners will know by now, our general order number 1 here at the TrekRanks Podcast is that we love Trek. We love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics to really just get the conversation started. Hopefully when you listen, you'll have some fun with it and maybe think about a few episodes or ideas that you haven't thought about for a while. Our mantra here at TrekRanks is no wrong answers. It's not about being right or definitive in any way. It's just about sharing the things we love about Trek. And sometimes I get into a little rant, so I'm going to do that this episode that I like to harp on for a little bit. This is a nitpicking-free zone. I kind of find nitpicking to be really debased. It's just not that clever or funny. 99% of the time, it really says more about the lack of logic in the nitpicker than it does in the actual nitpick. Getting off my high horse now so we can move on to our good friend, the Vulcan Master.
Infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
All right, so anyways, we love all Trek here. From TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline, and now Discovery. So it's all fair game on the TrekRanks Podcast. And just a reminder that we use episodes as our shorthand, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Black alert. Black alert. Black alert. Black alert.
I think everyone knows what that means. We are not initiating a spore jump. We are reminding everyone that Discovery spoilers are potentially in play at any time on TrekRanks, and we're currently current on Discovery through Season 1, Episode 13. Okay, before we jump into our level 1 diagnostic, let's quickly power up the Argus array so everyone knows how they can hail us.
Hailing frequencies are open.
You can check us out on the World Wide Web at trekranks.com and at the tricordertransmissions.com. And if you'd like to leave us a message with your own picks, you can do that at 609-512-LLAP. We love getting voicemails from you guys. So if you have the time, give us a call, 609-512-5527, and I will give you that number again at the end of the show. You can also find the Tricorder Transmissions on Facebook and Twitter, and you can reach me on Twitter at TrekRanks and also at Enterprise Extra. So hopefully we'll hear from you because this show is definitely better when we're hearing from you. Okay, to wrap it up, Claire and Ken, would you like to tell everybody how they can get a hold of you? Claire?
Sure. I'm on Twitter at isolinearchick. That's CHICK, not chip. And that's it.
All right. Ken, how about you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can find me writing at trekcore.com or on Facebook and Twitter at TrekCore.
Awesome. 2 great follows and sites if you're not following them. But if you're listening to TrekRanks, you're probably following TrekCore. That's my thinking. Let's get ready to activate our level 1 diagnostic.
Diagnostic cycle will be complete in 20 seconds.
So this week's diagnostic cycle, I think, is going to be real quick, and then we'll jump into our Prime Directive. But I just wanted to start quickly and define for everyone how we're going to put our list together this week. We've purposefully kept it very broad by labeling this as top 5 doppelgangers, duplicates, and doubles. So that can literally be anything you want to defend. Doubles or twins like Kirk and the Enemy Within, or Riker in Second Chances, or B'Elanna in Faces, or it could be the mirror version duplicates of one of your favorite characters, or it could even be like a displaced reality doppelganger like Picard in The Inner Light, or Ben Sisko as Benny Russell in Far Beyond the Stars, or even someone like Miles O'Brien in Hard Time when he lives a 20-year life as a prisoner, or O'Brien in Whispers when he's replaced by a replicant, or O'Brien in Visionary when he's jumping through time and replaced by a version of himself, or I guess really O'Brien in anything, because O'Brien must suffer, as they say. All right, so before we get into the Prime Directive, one quick question for Ken and Claire. I'm gonna start. I always say I would have no issue meeting my own duplicate. I always see the way TV shows sometimes treat duplicates as automatically this trope where they don't get along, and I'm looking at Will and Thomas Riker when I say that, where the duplicates always hate each other. So full disclosure, I would love hanging out with myself. No issues. So how about you guys? Claire, where do you meet on meeting your own duplicate?
I would like to meet my younger self. I think I would totally hang out with teenage Claire, and I think teenage Claire would be mostly okay with where I've turned out, maybe a little embarrassed. Maybe I'm too lame. I don't know. But I think teenage Claire would really like my apartment.
That is fantastic. How about you, Ken? Where do you stand on meeting your duplicate?
I think one of me is probably enough. If there were 2, I think we'd probably try to foist off all the work we have to do during the day on each other, and in the end, nothing would ever get done.
See, I would join forces with my guy so we could hang out and just do nothing.
Say the 2 me's would get absolutely nothing done, and we would be okay with that.
I like it. Well, maybe the Riker trope is legit. I don't know. Let's. I just wanted to get that feel, sir, before we jump into our Prime Directive.
I do not concur with your captain's decision.
She's following our Prime Directive.
Define Prime Directive.
So, Claire, based on that diagnostic I just ran you through, tell me, how did you approach your list? Was it a long list? Did you come up with a lot of examples? How did you narrow it down?
At first, it was a really long list, and then I'll just say I hope that you and Ken chose some of the kind of meaty examples. There are a lot of really good examples of doppelgangers and duplicates that tackle big issues. I decided to go kind of silly with it and intentionally push the boundaries of the topic. I chose things that were fun to talk about, and I didn't choose anybody from the mirror universe or any social issues or examples where it's, this deep character portrait. I've picked things that I thought were funny.
Okay. I love it. That's a great way to approach it, especially when it's such a broad topic. There's so much out there. How about you, Ken? How did you look at it?
Well, for my picks, I tried to stay away really from any duplicate that wasn't really real. So aside from maybe something that involved Voyager's Doctor, I don't have any holograms. I have no illusions, no hallucinations. All of mine are real physical duplicates of people elsewhere seen on the show. So I tried to keep them to ones that were a little more physical.
Okay, I like this.
I don't think you and I will have any duplicates.
On the of duplicates. No duplicates. That's great. So we have a kind of a funny, lighthearted list, maybe, and then only real characters. And then mine, I got to say, my process was pretty choppy. I just kept thinking of new possibilities, new ways to look at the topic because it's so broad. And I had a super long list, but I'll say in terms of narrowing it down, I knew immediately what my number one was going to be. I usually do. I love my number one pick, but after that, it was I'm a little bit all over the place. I have some real ones. I have some imaginary ones, I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's listen. One thing I know for sure is I would never want to meet a duplicate or a double or a doppelganger of Third Automaticon, because that guy is a badass.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Actually, I would love to meet a duplicate because I love that guy. All right, so just a quick reminder on how we're going to go through the order of things. First, each of us will reveal our 5-word summary and a hashtag for our selection. This is the TrekRanks original that we use to quickly frame how we're thinking about each topic. Then we'll reveal our selection and the episode in which we think the episode that best represents that pick. And then we'll each comment about it. And at the end, we'll go through a few secondary system selections for the picks that maybe just missed our list or we want to give a special shout out to. And if we end up having any duplicate picks of our duplicate picks, make sure to listen for this sound. Those are the Defiant torpedoes. I don't know if we're going to have duplicates. We'll see. All right, Claire, let's start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your list of top 5 doppelgangers, duplicates, and doubles?
Starting with the 5 words?
Yeah, sure. However you want to unveil it.
Oh, okay. My 5 words are computer, increase horn dog to maximum. My number 5 choice are the different versions of Riker that we find in A Matter of Perspective, which is the holodeck trial episode. Maybe not the most exciting episode ever, but I find the different versions of Riker to be hilarious. And sort of all of Riker's best/worst qualities turned up to 11. He's real pouty. First in Riker's version, he thinks of himself as this irresistible, quietly masculine guy. In Manua's version, he is a complete sleazeball to the point that he tries to rape her. And then in Dr. Apgar's version, he and Mrs. Apgar are making out, and then Riker is immediately beat up by Dr. Apgar. By the end of the episode, I'm finding myself thinking, who cares if Riker's innocent or guilty? This is embarrassing for him. I hope that by the end of the episode, got to be thinking, dang, everyone sees me as either this really sleazy guy or how embarrassing that everyone now knows how I see myself as this sort of masculine ideal. I just think it's hilarious. And Riker pouts a lot. So that's my choice.
That is a hilarious pick. Did you have a hashtag because your 5 words was so good?
My hashtag is facepalm.gif.
Perfect. I don't know what else to be said. This perfectly matches your Prime Directive, obviously. That is a clever, original way to look at duplicates and totally legit because you're seeing 3 or 4 different versions of them. And you know that they're all a little bit true in some level.
Well, like Troy says, they're all the truth as each person perceives it, which is really disturbing that Manua really believes that Riker tried to rape her. So that's kind of scary. But,
whoa. So, Ken, any quick comments on Matter of Perspective?
You're a dead man, Apgar, a dead man.
Yes.
That's all.
The 4 different ways that Frakes delivers that line is so funny. Each one is better than the one before.
Oh yeah.
I don't even need to drop that soundbite in now. I'll find something else because that was too good. All right, Cam, what's your number 5 pick?
Okay, well, for my number 5 pick, my 5 words are the salvation of the galaxy. And my hashtag is a perfect specimen. I'm talking about Spock 2 from the animated series, episode 7, The Infinite Vulcan.
Oh, no, you did not.
I did. I went to the animated series, Jim. Sorry. I know it's your favorite.
It's my favorite.
So,
and that is
so
probably,
Spock
that's the all-time duplicate. I mean, and
that's right.
And a pretty good reason for why it's not canon. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
25-foot tall clone of Spock, created by a 5th-generation clone of a eugenics war scientist to create a race of giant Vulcans to be the peacekeeping force of the galaxy. It is pretty nuts. Spock mind melds with himself using the touch of his finger. And at the end, Kirk's like, hey, stick around, work some science. And then they just fly off, leaving a giant Spock behind on this planet.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, Ken. Yep, that is exactly what happened in that amazing episode.
I like to think he's still out there. Someplace, giant.
Yeah.
Giant and Vulcan.
Any thoughts on Giant Spock, Claire? Or can we just move on?
We can. I was going to make a bad joke, but I don't have to.
No, make the joke.
Mind melding with yourself using a finger sounds like a euphemism for something else. That's all.
That was not a bad joke. That was a hilarious joke. Okay, my number 5 pick. Mind your own business, Mr. Spock. # I'm sick of your half-breed interference. And my character, of course, is Android Kirk, created by the old ones, or Roger Corby, in the episode What Are Little Girls Made Of? Season 1, episode 9. The starting point is that this is an awesome early TOS episode, and I actually picked this as one of my favorite Kirk episodes back in our very first episode of TrekRanks ever because of this moment. I love Kirk's quick thinking when they throw him into the old one's machine to make duplicate androids of people, and that's when he purposefully repeats to himself this uncharacteristic slur towards Mr. Spock, so that it will obviously tip off Spock to what Corby's up to when, if and when that android Kirk goes up to the Enterprise. So I love that scene. Super smart and clever. I love all the antics of the android Kirk and the scenes that he's in, right up to the point where Andrea kills him. So that is my pick. I love that episode, which was written by Robert Bloch of Psycho fame. So one of my favorites. Claire, Ken, any thoughts on What Are Little Girls Made Of?
Well, I always kind of found the whole whirligig duplicator machine pretty fascinating. I don't know. It always makes me a little bit dizzy when I watch that scene. But the other thing that's interesting is that, as a duplicate of Kirk, that's the second time in 7 or 8 episodes in the first season they came up with 2 duplicates of Kirk right away off the launch of the series. And I think the episodes even aired pretty close together within like 2 or 3 weeks. So hopefully people watching at home aren't tired of the idea.
Can't go wrong with a little extra Kirk. Claire, how about you?
That's a good point you make, Ken, about those 2 episodes being so close to each other. And it just reminds me of, I think it's season 7 of TNG, where it seems like Data gets taken over or mind controlled, or something goes wrong with him like 4 or 5 times within feels like a 10 or 15 episode span, where it's like they would be turning him off, or
maybe we shouldn't have an android. Maybe we shouldn't have an android on the bridge.
Yeah. Like, this guy keeps breaking. Maybe he's getting close to his warranty. I don't know.
Okay. Hilarious. All right. Well, let's move on to round 4 then. Claire, I cannot wait now for your number 4 pick based on your number 5. What's up?
All right. My 5 words are Control F Locarno, replace Paris. So my number 4 choice is Nick Locarno / Tom Paris. So quick overview in case anyone doesn't remember or know. Nick Locarno is a character played by Robert Duncan McNeil that is just in one TNG episode, The First Duty. And then a year or 2 later, Robert Duncan McNeil gets hired to play Tom Paris as a regular cast member on Voyager, and he is playing the exact same character in both instances, to the point that Admiral Paris, Tom Paris's father, has a framed photo of Robert Duncan McNeil as Nick Locarno on his desk at Starfleet headquarters. The reason for this is that They actually wanted Nick Locarno to be on Voyager, but they did not want to have to pay royalties to Ron Moore and Narain Shankar, who wrote The First Duty. So they just changed the character's name, and that's it.
They named him after another European city.
Exactly. Yeah. One syllable first name, European city last name.
Yes. That, okay.
And my hashtag is...
Oh, yeah. What's their hashtag?
The hashtag is just The First Duty is to royalties.
Oh, so good. Ken, any comments on the Nick Locarno, Tom Paris duplicates?
Well, it's one of those things like there's so many times when either someone's cast a second time or, even the same prop, the same model ships used. They think we don't notice. We notice. We know. We don't forget.
I like when they have a little bit of a, I can't think of the word, like a little bit of a troop mentality. Like I remember Ira Stephen Bear had a great interview about that related to Senator Kretak, because he wanted to cast a third actress to play her in her third appearance, just so there was a different one every episode after Adrienne Barbeau had been replaced. Anyway, I love this pick. Actually, I should have said this is actually the perfect doppelganger pick, because if Tom Paris was ever hanging out and saw Nick Locarno, he'd be like, "Oh my God, that guy's my doppelganger." The way you would do when you see someone that looks like yourself.
And that Nick Locarno, after he got kicked out of Starfleet Academy, totally went to that bar in Marseille where Tom Paris hung out.
Oh,
that
totally.
They would have gone and done the same things with their life.
Genius. I love it.
Yeah, I figure when Harry Kim gets stuck back on Earth in Non Sequitur, he was really hanging out with Nick Locarno.
Yes, I like that. All right, Ken, what's your number 4 pick?
All right, my number 4 pick is a little bit off the wall. The 5 words are Dr. Crusher was not here, and my hashtag is Geordi's dead. It's Dr. Ogawa from Parallels, TNG season 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a quick appearance. It's only maybe 2 or 3 minutes of screen time. It's for those who may not remember the 2 minutes of the episode. This is where Dr. Crusher's nurse, Ogawa, who we see throughout several years of The Next Generation, in one of Worf's parallel realities, is actually the chief medical officer of the Enterprise with a different hairstyle. She's wearing Dr. Crusher's blue robe, and she's the one over Geordi's uncomfortably naked body in the sickbay when he's been killed on the ship. I don't know. I've always just been really intrigued by that version of the character. There's really not much to it except it's just a difference for people who paid attention to kind of the background actors in the show. But I don't know. I always kind of wanted to know more about what was going on the ship if Dr. Ogawa was in charge. That
is a cool one, because she's always kind of a cool background character every time you see her. But that was a prominent appearance and very, very memorable, I think. Claire, any comments on Dr. Ogawa and Parallels? I love this. Deep cut.
Great choice. Yeah, I had several different options from Parallels that I considered, but I didn't do them because I was hoping that somebody else would. And so this is awesome.
Okay, I am going to jump into my number 4 pick, which is always gets me emotional. All right, 5 words in a hashtag, we'll give it away. But Trek and Janeway's toughest moral dilemma, hashtag RIP Tuvix. And my character, of course, is the combination of Tuvok and Neelix, Mr. Tuvix, in Season 2, Episode 24 of Voyager. And yep, I'm going there. There's no way I could compile this list without listing one of the most impactful doppelgangers in Star Trek history, as far as I'm concerned. And he is Mr. Tuvix. And I mean, the episode's just so beautiful. And it's one of those episodes I appreciate more and more every time I see it, because I think most of that's based on this amazing performance from Tom Wright, because he really captures those two guys. And then you start getting used to them, and you start to value him, and you really like having him around. So when the decision comes that he's going to get bounced, and by bounced I mean murdered, it's pretty tough to take. So where do you guys stand on Tuvix, which is definitely a controversial figure in Trek lore? Claire?
I mean, I think Janeway, it was an ultimate captain moment for Janeway. She made the tough decision that she didn't want to have to make, that nobody else wanted to have to make, but she has to do it because she's the captain. And at the very least, Tuvix does die, but I feel like his spirit lives on in that Neelix and Tuvok end up having this, I guess you could call it a close relationship, but they definitely have a better and different relationship for the rest of the series than they had prior. They appreciate each other. Tuvok would never admit it, but they're friends.
Yeah. Well, for sure, Tuvok and Neelix are going to be high on my bro list whenever we do TrekRanks #1 bromances. Ken, what's your Tuvix take?
Well, it is pretty cold-blooded, the crew to pretty much all turn away from him. It's that scene where he's on the bridge trying to plead for his life to everyone.
Rough.
It is kind of uncomfortable. It really is. It does kind of pay off down the line when he and Neelix sort of get paired up again in riddles when Tuvok loses control of his emotions and he kind of turns into a kind, gentle guy. But it's one of those things that you really think would be mentioned again, even though we know Voyager wasn't always the best at remembering its own history. The one thing I really like these days about Tuvix, he's had a little bit of a resurgence, I think, in fan culture. If you have ever played the digital game Star Trek Timelines, you play with all sorts of different versions of characters throughout the Trek franchise in a digital game, and you can combine different versions to form different functions. You can combine, if you have a Neelix and a Tuvok in your arsenal, you can combine them to create a Tuvix character in the game. It's sort of a secret, unadvertised.
That's cool.
That is awesome, and I did not know that. And #Tuvix lives. Fantastic. Claire, what's your number 3 pick? Soup round. We're in the soup round. What's your number 3 top 5 doppelganger, duplicate, and double?
My 5 words are thorough, dedicated, steady, reliable, punctual. That would be Lieutenant Junior Grade Picard from Tapestry.
Oh, sad.
So I don't really know if this he's not a double, but he's sort of...
No, totally.
For like 5 minutes he exists.
Duplicate or a displaced reality. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. First off, I just want to say Patrick Stewart looks phenomenal in the teal.
Yes.
I mean, he looks so good in that uniform, but it's also bizarre to see him in it. This episode really rags on Lieutenant Picard as being a lame nobody, and while that might be true comparing him to Captain Picard, like, the guy still lives and works on the Starfleet flagship and basically has a job that every single viewer would sell a kidney for. So it sort of bothers me how much they rag on him and how much Picard rags on himself. I mean, it looks like he is Lieutenant Picard for all of about 5 minutes before he starts yelling out to Q that he would rather die the man he was than live the man he just saw. Like, chill out, Picard. Also, Riker and Troy and a few other senior officers, you kind of see that they really give him the cold shoulder too, which is interesting because Q says that nothing has changed except for Picard. So between Tapestry and maybe Lower Decks, like, are the senior and also Hollow Pursuits, are the senior officers all just sort of dicks to people who are not their fellow senior officers? I don't know.
These are the same people who do their crew evaluations in the middle of 10 forward.
That is
so,
so true.
You kind of get what their mindset is right
Yeah,
now.
that's very true.
And you remember what happened when Scotty came on board?
Oh, yes.
Everyone was like, well, we don't have time for this guy.
Yeah. And my hashtag is a bit melodramatic, don't you think? I think Picard, like, I get that he doesn't want to live that way forever, but honestly, it's like 5 minutes and he is pleading for death, literally.
That's a little harsh. I feel for him.
Does it amuse you to think of me living out the rest of my life as a dreary man in a tedious job?
I gave you something most mortals never experience. A second chance at life. And now all you can do is complain?
I can't live out my days as that person. That man is bereft of passion and imagination. That is not who I am.
Au contraire. He's the person you wanted to be. One who was less arrogant and undisciplined in his youth? One who was less like me? The Jean-Luc Picard you wanted to be, the one who did not fight the Nausicaan, had quite a different career from the one you remember.
So sad. So sad. Such a great moment. That's my take on it. Ken, what's your take on it?
Yeah, it's always a really interesting sequence, especially, like Claire, what you said, seeing Patrick Stewart in the blue uniform. It's really sort of out of place. But I'll tell you, of the few old action figures I still have tucked away, one of them is the Picard in blue from this episode. So it's memorable to me as well. The one thing that always struck me about Tapestry, at least that section of it, is, I was always curious to see what the rest of the ship was like. They couldn't include Crusher because, that's Picard got her onto the ship. So they had to have Q be the pretend doctor in that scene. I was always curious to see what Captain Hobson was like.
Yeah.
Who he made of the Enterprise, and why they didn't reference some other previous character we'd seen.
Well, we all know that's an all-time classic episode of Trek. All right, Ken, what's your number 3 pick?
All right, my number 3 pick is the 5 words are throwing himself into the part with a hashtag your logic is flawed. This is Mobar from the Delta Quadrant, who is conning people as his version of Tuvok in Live Fast and Prosper.
Oh, man, that is great. I did not think of Live Fast and Prosper. I love it.
So, I always got a kick out of that episode, but I always thought that his take on Tuvok was sort of like the ultimate, role play experience, because he really commits to the whole role as a Vulcan. Their race is bald because they all wear wigs, but he says he likes the hair. And then, he's always staying in character, even when he's just around his the other con artists on the ship. And finally, at the end, Tuvok shows up and he gets all wide-eyed and excited to see him, and Tuvok just shoots him. It's great.
It's so funny. It's such a hilarious pick. And he is Tuvok's double. He's out there impersonating him.
Captain, I must point out that dilithium is worth nearly twice as much as bolemite.
Tuvok, these people need our help. I'm not going to quibble over a few tons of ore.
Perhaps we should celebrate.
I wish we could, but there's a neutronic storm approaching our ship. We should be leaving orbit.
Give us an hour to finalize the arrangements.
We'll be waiting to hear from you.
Before we leave, would it be possible to tour your facility? It's our duty as Starfleet officers.
Unfortunately, the storm won't wait. Maybe on our next visit.
Live long and prosper.
This hair is so uncomfortable.
I find it aesthetically pleasing.
Ugh.
The negotiations?
It would have been perfect if Tuvok hadn't decided to improvise.
I was portraying my character as truthfully as possible.
Claire, what's your take on Live Fast?
I don't want to say too much because I've got some things to say about it later.
Okay, I love that teaser. We might have a duplicate. We'll see. Or something close. All right, I will move on then to my round 3, which is, and this is a standard one, but I couldn't leave it off the list. 5 words and a hashtag are, it's me, I'm the someone. Hashtag, I'm the one it finds. And it is Jean-Luc Picard as Cayman in The Inner Light, which, again, could have tried to keep this off my list. It's a little bit of a safe pick, but definitely not a deep cut. One of my all-time favorite episodes, and just too perfect and too emotional not to include it. I don't think I need to say much more than that about The Inner Light. It's a top 5 episode at TrekRanks, and I get lost in Patrick Stewart's portrayal of Picard as Cayman. I just love that ending. Floors me every time. Ken, what's your take on The Inner Light?
It's interesting. That's sort of a character that I hadn't really thought of as a duplicate, because it really is Picard just sort of going down a different path from where we see him at the beginning of the episode on the Enterprise. But certainly by the end of his time he truly has turned into a different character. And it's a great pick. It's a classic. What else can you say?
Yeah, I like to look at it as this displaced reality kind of pick where he's obviously lived an entire life as another person. So, Claire, how about you?
I mean, it's clearly like he is changed by that for the rest of his life. It's one of the few things that TNG repeatedly references back to as far as life-changing character events. I mean, he continues to play that flute. Like they barely mention, his assimilation by the Borg. It does get mentioned a few times, but it seems like his experiences in the Inner Light are probably more impactful to his life than becoming Locutus or any other major event.
Yeah, for that time and era, they did a good job of making sure that storyline had a little bit of a lasting impact. So, all right, Claire, your number 2 pick. Can't wait to hear it. What's your latest selection?
All right, this one barely counts, but I'm doing it anyway. My 5 words are: Data can small talk me anytime. It is him, Data mimicking Commander Hutchinson in Starship Mine. So we got 2 Morgan Gendel picks.
That's 2 straight Morgan Gendel picks. I love it. So Data impersonating Hutch, is that what I'm hearing?
His Data so barely counts. And this was a last minute addition, like an hour ago. I put this on my list. Data mimicking Commander Hutchinson small talk. So it's, when they're down on the planet while they have to evacuate the Enterprise because it's getting some baryon sweep or whatever. I don't think that's the right sweep, but whatever.
Yeah, it was.
Data, it is a baryon sweep. Okay. Data's lurking in the background, miming Commander Hutchinson, who is this infamously horrible small talk guy. And Data looks like Pee Wee Herman. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Pee Wee's Big Adventure, but Data looks like Pee Wee Herman, like mugging for the camera back there, shrugging, doing stuff with his face, and I love every second of it. By the time Data and Hutch start talking to each other, it's like this feedback loop of increasingly trivial minutia, and I swear if it wasn't interrupted by the hostage situation, they would like converge into a single being. They're just it's so good.
It's
I just love it. It probably barely counts.
I was serving on Admiral Mitchell's staff on Starbase 97. Awful place, by the way.
You met our Commander Data?
Take your meaning exactly.
As a matter of fact, I find it oddly amusing.
No, I don't think so.
Interesting. I'll introduce. There are several cultures in this sector with extremely similar etymological histories. For example...
Mr. Data, I don't know if you've had a chance to meet our host, Commander Hutchinson.
Call me
Hutch. Lieutenant Commander Data, our second officer.
A pleasure.
The pleasure is mine. Hutch. I've been meaning to compliment you on your choice of colors here.
Oh, you really think so? Well, it wasn't easy making a final decision, let me tell you.
I can well imagine. The light in this room would make color selection exceptionally problematic.
Precisely.
It's absolutely hilarious. And for anyone who thinks it doesn't count, I'm going to go ahead and just rename the title of the episode as Top 5 Doppelgangers, Duplicates, Doubles, and Impersonations.
Yes.
We'll just
I would say that's such a great pick, and I love you're right about the feedback loop, because at the end I think they're even laughing in sync with each other. It's great.
Yes, they are. And the acting, not just for them, but even the rest of the bridge crew watching them. I mean, the acting for that entire scene is phenomenal.
It's hilarious. Data small talk is fantastic, soup to nuts from the beginning of the episode to the end. All right, love it. Ken, how about you? What's your number 2 pick?
My number 2 pick is, again, a short appearance, but a memorable one. The 5 words, and this might give it away, the 5 words are, 4 is more than enough. # we've barely begun. It's the changeling version of Miles O'Brien who appears on Earth to Captain Sisko in Paradise Lost.
Oh, man, I had a 4th Miles O'Brien reference I could have dropped in the open. That's fantastic.
Well, the other 3 you said were in the other 3 you mentioned are in my secondary system, so I'm glad I picked the 4th one you didn't remember.
All right. That is so great.
So,
all right, why'd you pick it? Yeah.
So, for those who remember the scene, this is when Earth's been knocked into a blackout during the era of changeling paranoia in DS9's 4th season. We find out later that it's really Red Squad under command of some dysfunctional admiralty. But in the meantime, one of the changelings on Earth decides to pay a visit to Sisko and just sort of laugh in his face, telling him, "Do you really think you'll be able to find us with phaser rifles?" And Colm Meaney's performance is really great because at first you think he's O'Brien, but he really puts a twist on it. His voice is even a little bit higher pitched than normal. He really kind of puffs himself up with the arrogance, saying, "We're better than you. We're smarter than you. Do you really think you can stop us?" It's really, and I don't know, it's just a really great short little performance for an actor who's not really in the rest of the episode much at all.
Yeah, that's pretty much his only appearance. No, that's a great pick to think of. I love it. Claire, any comments?
No, great pick though. I was hoping there's so many choices with the changelings, and then also with Species 8472 and Voyager, and you could have chosen Boothby, I guess, is in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that somebody chose a changeling, and you chose a really good one too, and not one that people would probably immediately think of.
Yeah, it's funny. Changelings, for some reason, didn't even pop into my head as options, but that is a great pick. And we finally get a DS9 reference, so fantastic. All right, my number 2 pick, if my 5 words in a hashtag are all-time great sci-fi conceit, hashtag weird is part of the job, and it is the subspace divergence Janeway from Deadlock, Season 2, Episode 21 of Voyager. One of my all-time favorite episodes, number 13 at TrekRanks. It's just an incredible hour of television when you and sci-fi, the way that episode begins and the way the second Voyager shows up. So I just love when these two Janeways are together. They're played to perfection by Kate Mulgrew. There's just a hint of that standoffishness between the two of them, but also there's like mutual respect. And then at the end, there's this great understanding that they know each other really perfectly. And I love the scene where the I don't even know which one it was, says, "Don't make me call security and have you escorted off my ship because I'll do it." It's a brilliant line, and it's a great episode and a great twist at the end when the beat up Voyager ends up surviving. I love that. Love that episode, and I always had this one high on my list because I love those two Janeways together.
Captain, I think you should return to your ship and run a metallurgical analysis. Find out the precise phase modulation of your hull. I'll do the same here. Maybe we can find a way to realign the phase displacement. You're going to self-destruct your ship. What makes you say that? Because that's what I would do if your Voyager were intact, and my Voyager were crippled, my crew wounded or dead. I'd sacrifice my ship so that yours could survive. And I'm glad we agree. Go back to your ship. I didn't say I agree, I said I understand. I'm not willing to let you make that sacrifice yet. We haven't explored all the options. Yes, we have, and we both know it. This is my ship and my decision. Captain, I'm not going to let I've made my decision. Please don't make me call security and have you escorted off my ship because I'll do it.
Ken, what's your take on Deadlock?
Yeah, it's definitely a great pick. The duplication of really the whole crew is a great part of that episode. Weird is part of the game, like you said, and that's with a duplicate Harry Kim who somehow survived the death of his own ship, and everyone just kind of forgets about it, which is, that's pretty strange. But again, Voyager doesn't remember its own past very often sometimes.
Well, yeah, that was cool. That was, by the way, Harry Kim's death in that episode was shocking. It was like, oh my God, he just died. How are they going to solve that? Claire, what's your take on two Janeways in Deadlock?
Oh yeah, it's a great episode, but you're right. The Harry Kim thing, it's cool. It's a great little story piece, but they never mention it again. A lot of things have happened to Harry Kim that never get mentioned again, but you do, I guess it's nice. You get to see Janeway kind of doubling down on her caretaker decision to sacrifice one Janeway, sacrificing herself and her ship for the good of the other Janeway.
Oh, I like that. Yep. Maybe later we'll do it, since we're talking O'Brien and Harry Kim must suffer. Maybe we'll come up with a TrekRanks episode where we can compare our O'Brien versus Kim in suffering somehow, and we'll rank it. Okay, I like this idea.
And Trip, he gets a lot thrown at him.
That's fair.
He actually dies.
That's fair. He does.
Stays dead.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Your unluckiest characters.
Let's move to number one. Round one. Claire, what's your number one pick?
All right, my number one pick. The 5 words are uniforms courtesy of Party City. I'm going specifically with the fake Starfleet uniforms in Live Fast and Prosper. They are amazing. Every single thing about them is so perfect. It's like Bob Blackman plucked them right off somebody at a Star Trek convention and just put them right on the actors. Like the comm badges are too big, and so are the pips. The V of color goes too far down the shoulder. The V-necks are too big. The zippers are obvious. They're perfect. I love them.
That's a great pick.
My hashtag is dinner plate comm badge. Because those things are so big.
They're so big.
That's amazing. The undershirts are great too because they're not undershirts. They're just like little dickies underneath the collar.
Yeah, you can flip them open.
Yeah, it's really great.
Ken, of course, you would notice that with all your expertise on dissecting Trek on TrekCore. That pick is hilarious. It's awesome. I cannot believe we have 2 Live Fast and Prosper references on this episode of TrekRanks.
I was not expecting that either.
That is hilarious. All right, Ken, what is your number one pick?
Well, my number one pick isn't quite as hilarious, and unfortunately, it's a little bit sad. My number one pick, the 5 words are, "May the founders forgive me." Hashtag, "Give me your blessing." It's Wayun-6, the defective clone who defected to the Federation. From Treachery, Fate, and the Great River in DS9 Season 7.
I love that. I kind of forgot that Wayun is a duplicate of himself.
That's right.
8 or 9 times. 8 times, right? Yeah, 8 times. Oh, that is so great. Right. And once again, we have another Treachery, Faith, and the Great River mention on TrekRanks. Go ahead, Ken.
It's a wonderful episode. And, this Wayun is really, really interesting because, not only does he have a defect in his founder's gene or whatever that causes the members of the Dominion to serve the founders without question, he gets interested in, human cuisine. He spends time eating off the replicator, somehow eats a pepperoni pizza with chopsticks. He tells the great story to Odo of how the founders created the Vorta from little flourish creatures. And then finally, the biggest part of his character, as short-lived as he is his sincere devotion to Odo once he reveals that the changelings, that all the founders are sick with the disease that we later learn is caused by Section 31, and that he believes Odo will be the only founder left after the rest of the Dominion is dead. And he eventually sacrifices himself to keep Odo alive, and so that Wayun-7, who is willing to kill Odo, will let him live.
What are you doing? Why have you activated the comm system?
All right, call off those ships. Why should I? Because you don't need them anymore. I'm glad to see you've come to your senses.
What have you done?
I've saved your life, and the Dominion's as well. He's activated his termination implant and proven himself to be a worthy Vorta at last. I obey the Founders in all things. Now call off those ships.
Yeah, that's really emotional. So well done. Such a great, underrated all-time episode. Claire, how about you on Treachery, Faith, and the Great River?
Oh, it's amazing. And all the Wayuns are interesting and fun, but this one really humanizes is the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Right. Makes them sympathetic in a way, or at least this specific one sympathetic.
Yep. Really great. Well, let's stay on a somber note and move on to my number one pick, which was always going to be my number one pick when we're talking about doppelgangers, duplicates, and doubles. My 5 words in a hashtag: You made a damn good father. Hashtag, and you were a damn good son. It is Sim and Trip Tucker from the Enterprise episode Similitude, Season 3, Episode 10. My number 3 episode for Enterprise at TrekRanks. And what can you say? This is one of the best Trek episodes ever. And it's so much heart and emotion. So many incredible performances, literally by all 3 of the actors that are playing Sim, not just Connor Trinneer at the end, but also Trip when he's like age 4, and then I think he's like age 8 or 9, and then as a teenager. So just really brilliantly well done. And the storyline of developing the clone through Dr. Phlox's Lysarian desert larvae is also just really clever. The whole thing's awesome. And I know that someday when we do our top 5 tearjerker moments, Sim telling Phlox that he was a damn good father and Phlox telling them he was a damn good son is going to be way high on my list. So for sure.
I'm sorry I doubted you, Doc.
No need to apologize.
You're serious. You see, I don't just remember Trip's childhood. I remember mine. You made a damn good father.
You were a damn good son.
You said to me once that commanding a starship was what you were meant to do. I guess this is what I was meant to do. Good luck, Captain.
Awesome duplicate. One of my favorites. And Claire, what's your take on Similitude?
I'm so glad you included this because I knew that if I stuck with my plan of going kind of goofy with my choices, I wasn't going to get to include picks like this one. And right. I'm really glad that someone else did because you're right. It's a fantastic episode. It's this like real kind of high concept sci-fi episode that ends up being very emotional, which is surprising. I kind of feel like it belongs in the same category as Drone of really, I didn't expect to be as moved by this episode as I was.
Yeah, and it's a great opening to the episode that essentially the cold open is Trip's funeral. So you're just thrown right into the episode and you don't really know what's going on. And then once we do see how Trip gets injured, that fall, the way they shot it with just debris and sparks flying everywhere, it really looks like he was really injured, even though we know the actor was safe.
Right.
The one thing about Similitude, and it is on my secondary systems too, it kind of reminds me of how Tuvix, the episode, could have been handled a little bit better. Because with Sim, as soon as we know he's created, we know he's created to die in the end. But, we see his growth. We don't want him to die at the end, but he has to. With Tuvix, we kind of know that by the end of the episode, everything was going to be fine for our characters. But they kept him in a way that character didn't want to die and wouldn't accept his own fate. So I think Similitude has much more of a emotion to it, to sort of draw you into the self-sacrifice than I think Tuvix ever really got to, because it does seem like it's much more thrust upon him to be killed compared to Sim sort of accepting where his life is taking him.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the point of Tuvix, though. But if your point is that you kind of knew at the end he was going to turn back into Tuvok and Neelix, then understood. The Similitude, you're really not sure how it's going to end up playing out, whether they'll let him live his life or not. So, but all-time great episode, to say the least. All right, let's jump into some secondary systems. Claire, let's start with you. What's on your list? Anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah, this one almost made it into the top 5. The different recordings of Jerry Goldsmith's theme of the motion picture and The Next Generation. Almost made it, but then I was like, I don't know what to say about it, so didn't.
I like you're sticking with the inanimate objects. I like it.
Yeah. All 285,000 Enterprise Ds at the end of Parallels. Kind of a lot.
That's a lot of duplicates.
Yeah, and then if we're going to go with like duplicates that don't work very well, I was going to do the stunt doubles for Riker and the Admiral in Conspiracy and that fight they have, which they don't look anything like the actors, and it's not believable at all.
Oh, I love those guys.
Oh, hilarious. All right, how about you, Ken? Any secondary system picks?
Yeah, my secondary systems list was really pretty long, and I kind of had a hard time narrowing it down.
Yeah, me too.
I had all the different impersonations of the crew that the Doctor had to do in Renaissance Man, becoming Janeway and Chakotay and Torres.
Yes. That's a
and
good
then
one.
doing that weird Spider-Man flip as pregnant Torres off the ceiling in the corridor. It's really strange.
That's a good shout. I like it.
I also had Admiral Pike from the Kelvin Timeline movies with Bruce Greenwood's version of the character. I just think he's one of the biggest parts of the Kelvin Timeline films that I think worked even better than I think some of the regular casting, if you ask me. But thought he was always a good addition. Louis Zimmerman as the creator of the MH program. The Silver Blood version of the Voyager crew from Course Oblivion.
Oh, yes. Of course. That's a great one. That's the whole ship is duplicated. Course Oblivion.
That's right.
I didn't think of that one. I love it.
I had Mirror Porthos, the Doberman from In a Mirror Darkly.
That's great.
I had old T'Pol from E Squared in Enterprise Season 3.
That's a good
one. And then the last one to make my secondary systems was when Odo was impersonating the female changeling to take over the Jem'Hadar ship in the latter half of Season 7 of Deep Space Nine.
Yes, that was great. Was that Tacking Into the Wind, maybe?
Tacking Into the Wind, you're right.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, on my list, I had Mirror Quark in Crossover. I love him because he's so proud and he's doing the right thing, and then he gets murdered or gets killed right off the bat. And I love the Mirror Tuvok appearance in Through the Looking Glass because it's just so random. Like, oh, there's Tuvok in the Mirror Universe on Deep Space Nine. And I want to give a shout out to Far Beyond the Stars and Sisko's vision of Benny Russell's world because all those amazing performances from Avery Brooks, Cole Meany, Armin Shimmerman, Terry Farrell, Renee Auberjonois. Incredible performances there. And one last shout out to Vok and Tyler because I got to give shout out to Discovery. And I love that storyline. Thought they did a good job with that. So I will say, very interesting. We have gone all the way through, and I literally had on my list, I've thought about them, but no Will and Thomas Rikers and no data or lore references. So
those are too obvious.
Yeah, obvious isn't a problem. I think most people won't pick it because they're not really that effectual. I mean, Will and Thomas are pretty good, but data and lore gets a little.
I actually did on my super long list. I actually did have something from Second Chances, but it wasn't Will and Thomas Riker. It was the bridge. I know. I'm sorry. I'm going way deep.
The bridge stunt double. I know exactly what you're talking about. The duplicate parallel.
Right, but also. If you watch the end of Generations, when Kirk is on that bridge and they die, I swear to God, it's the exact same bridge. And it's the exact same, stunt. So
it's definitely the same bridge from Caretaker, right?
I didn't even think about Caretaker.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about
Caretaker.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen that bridge before. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic discussion, guys. Now it's time to move on to our regeneration cycle and wind this episode down.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Let's go through a quick recap with Claire and Ken's picks. Claire, run through your top 5.
All right, so top 5, or starting with 5, we've got the different holodeck versions of Riker in a matter of perspective. At 4, we have Nick Locarno and Tom Paris, who are the same person. At 3, we have Lieutenant Junior Grade Picard, Science Officer Picard in Tapestry. At 2, we have Data's impersonation of Commander Hutchinson's Small Talk in Starship Mine. And at number 1, we have the fake Starfleet uniforms in Live Fast and Prosper.
Inspired. I may have to insert a Family Feud X after that second round pick. That impersonation. Never. I would never do that. I love deep cut picks. Love stretching the limit picks. All right, Ken, what's your top 5?
My number 5 pick was Spock 2 from The Infinite Vulcan. My number 4 pick was Dr. Ogawa from Parallels. My number 3 pick is Mobar as Tuvok in Live Fast and Prosper. My number 2 pick is the changeling version of O'Brien in Paradise Lost. And my number 1 pick was Weyoun clone number 6 from Treachery, Faith, and the Great River.
Another awesome list. And my top 5 were Kirk, the Kirk android, and What Are Little Girls Made Of? Tuvix from Voyagers. Tuvix, Picard as Kamen in The Inner Light, Duplicate Janeways in Deadlock, and the great similitude from Enterprise where Trip is cloned. So some quick stats and numbers. We had a pretty good even representation. No Kelvin timeline picks, but we did have a single pick for the original series, Enterprise, and the animated series. And then we had 2 Deep Space Nine picks, 3 from Voyager, and 6 from TNG. If we're breaking down some characters, we had 3 captains represented, Janeway, Picard twice, and Kirk. And we had 2 first officers represented, Riker and Spock. So pretty good broad cut there for what we knew was going to be a broad topic. Great job, you guys. I love those lists. So as we do every week, we've once again entered a temporal causality loop. So before we can depart, it's time to hear from you.
Enterprise has been caught up in a temporal causality loop, and I suspect that something similar may have happened to you.
All right, I say this every week, but this week I really mean it, and I can't believe how many top 5 one-off hero lists we received from everybody. So many awesome picks. So I'm just going to straight rattle off a bunch of my favorite deep cut picks from so many of the lists that came into us at TrekRanks. And first off, I did not plan this, is Thad Haight at Tyrannicus, who chose Weyoun 6 as one of his top 5 one-off heroes from Treachery, Faith, and the Great River. I love that. We just heard about Weyoun 6 as a number 1 duplicate as well. We also had a pick for Captain Ramirez from The Expanse from Robert at Phil's Stalkers on Twitter. Jen S. at Eat at Quarks chose the baby changeling from The Begotten, and she had a 5 words, which was his dying act, a gift for Odo. Love that. Adam Hunal chose Soren from The Outcast, another super cool deep cut pick. Daniel Martin and Troy Dennehy. Daniel Martin's at Dr. DSM, and Troy Dennehy at Blinking 12 had a great, awesome pick that I love from Hippocratic Oath, the Jem'Hadar Goran Agar. Reading Trek Podcast at Reading Trek had Sim Tucker. Oh my gosh, I forgot that was 2. So 2 of our number 1 picks were one-off heroes. That's amazing. Hashtag he died so that Trip may live. That's amazing. I didn't even realize we had both of those on there. And then 2 more picks because these are all so good. Foz Rotten at Foz Rotten had Nos from Gravity, which is one of my all-time favorite episodes. And at Tainted Bill chose from DS9's Past Tense, Michael Webb. And I will say I thought about Michael Webb after we recorded that episode and was kicking myself for not including him. So fired up that he got picked. All right, so with those great picks, we've once again easily pulled ourselves out of this week's temporal causality loop. As always, keep all these amazing responses to TrekRanks coming. It's great to hear from everybody. We're at TrekRanks on Twitter and at Enterprise Extra. Send us your lists so we can retweet them. We also want to hear from you, so feel free to put your own list together and give us a call at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. We would love to hear your top 5 doppelgangers, duplicates, and doubles list. If you want to give us a call, that's 609-512-LLAP. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, we're doing a roundup of Discovery Season 1, which, spoiler alert, is awesome. So our next episode is going to be our top 5 Discovery Season 1 moments. And I can't wait to talk about that with our 2 awesome guests who are going to be Alex Perry and Bill Mann, who's on Trek Live. Love those guys. They know their Trek. So Claire and Ken, another bit of a broad canvas here. We're going to keep it open, I think, here. So you can pick anything you want to highlight from season 1 of Discovery. What's the first thing that pops in your head, Claire?
I'm going to have to go with the Mirror Universe uniforms.
Oh, see? Perfect.
They were just awesome.
I love that. That is an awesome pick. Ken, what would be something you would want to highlight?
Probably the first time we saw Discovery use its spore drive. As an effect, I don't think we've ever seen anything like it in the franchise to date. Spinning 3 directions at once.
And dropping in the way it does. So cool. So cool. Okay, you guys just proved that this is going to be an awesome episode, and I cannot wait to talk to those guys about it. All right, so before we wrap it up, a huge thanks to Claire Little and Ken Reilly. Awesome show, guys. Really appreciate you coming on. Hope you had fun.
Definitely.
It's a great time as always.
All right. Thanks, guys. And just want to thank everyone for engaging with us here on episode 21 of the TrekRanks Podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
Hi there, thanks again for listening. If you're cruising the galaxy looking for even more Trek talk, why not visit our good friends Bill and Dan over at TrekGeeks.com? They've got a great podcast that covers a wide range of Star Trek topics, so you're sure to find something you'll love. And if you're in the mood for some awesome tunes, then you really need to head over to 5yearmission.net. The guys are writing a song for every episode of the original series, and each one is absolutely brilliant. So that's TrekGeeks.com and 5yearmission.net. Check them out today.
You're a dead man after all. A dead man.
Yes.